Alright, YouTubers, resuming this Pacal game here. So Brennus has a stack of 20 plus units to the frozen north. So I'm going to want to close borders with him, because I'd rather be fighting that stack on my terms instead of having him haul them up in a city. The Gaul's about to finish education, so I need to finish up Lib myself. So I think the best course of action for me is to take nationalism and then immediately trade it to the Gaul. I don't want to trade anything with Brennus. So he hasn't started on education. And neither has Joel. But the Gaul is forcing my hand. I have to take Lib. So I was checking my cities. I need to fire the artist here in Rakamha because I don't want to generate any great person that is not a great merchant after I get the next great scientist to make an academy in the capital. So I'm starting to regain some tiles from Brennus. I need Buddhism in the Taoist holy city. And need to work that silver mine. And the fur city is more or less useless for anything other than producing furs to trade. Yeah, I definitely don't want this Brennus stack to make it back to their own territory, because if they do, and if the entire stack ends up holing up in his capital, I'm going to need a humongous number of cuirassiers.
Would deserve neither and lose both.
So take nationalism.
A man does not have himself killed for a halfpence a day or for a petty distinction. You must speak to the soul in order to electrify him.
And yeah, I had noticed this when I was examining the most recent save. There are observatories in Brennus's major cities. So he's already teched to astronomy. Yeah, the tech patterns of these AIs can be very strange. Teching astronomy before education and Lib, but it is what it is. So let's see what de Gaulle gives me for nationalism. So it looks like full value. He hasn't started on it himself. So Brennus is not willing to give me as big of a haul for either of these texts because they're no longer monopoly texts. Not that I want to be trading anything to Brennus anyway. So Joao now has gunpowder, and it looks like he's probably starting in on education himself. So I need to pull the trigger on that gunpowder trade sooner rather than later. So I need to get some stuff from de Gaulle for nationalism. I don't want to trade him lib though, because if he switches over to free religion, he's gonna start getting along with Joao. Don't really need the world map there. I was kind of hoping that by taking the world map off of his offer that he would give me a +1 bonus for fair trade, but this being de Gaulle, didn't happen.
A god from the machine. 2 cities have been formed by 2 loves, the earthly by the love of self, the heavenly by the love of God. If you speak the truth, have a foot in the stirrup.
So I had better take this gunpowder trade while it's on the table.
Get more of what you
I guess
want
the upside of that trade
gun
is that I don't need to break the monopoly on lib in order to get gunpowder. Yeah, so I'm gonna need some roads near my northern perimeter. So that way I can move my defensive stack in order to counter Brennus's army to the north. So the challenge there is going to be figuring out how to counter his his stack in the most hammer efficient way, because I'm so food and production challenged on this map. I need to get every cuirassier I can muster into the invasion stack, and I can't afford to build another stack of cuirassiers in order to kill off Brennus's northern stack. So I'm going to need to get counter units, and speaking of counter units, I'm going to ask for archery as a freebie from Brennus, so that way I can build crossbowmen to counter his macemen, and also build longbowmen to garrison the hill cities, since the longbowmen are going to be every bit as good, in fact actually somewhat better than musketeers when it comes to garrisoning cities on hills. So, as I feared, De Gaulle is now in "We fear you are becoming too advanced." And so is Brennus now that he is down to pleased again. So unfortunately, Brennus's gold per turn disappeared. I cancelled that fish trade. So I want to get my health resources back. Because I'm up against the health cap, and the other reason is that these guys are not going to be happy capped, because they can just build more units as military police. They are going to be health capped, so I would much rather trade them the furs for gold per turn. So I need to found a city right there in order to claim the horses. Kinda sucks, but the geography of this map just kinda sucks in general, so gonna need one more city. Gonna need to remember to turn on quick moves for the next video. Starving this place down in order to get my academy sooner rather than later. Hoping it'll shave a turn off of music. Really sucks that De Gaulle just wouldn't trade music to self-research it. Oh, what a pain. Okay, so Brennus has 11 gold per turn that I can get by trading him fur, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And of course Joao's gold per turn also disappears. So I will just have to wait. Lib for guilds and literature. I'm really not going for guilds at this point. Would like engineering though. Engineering is going to be a very useful war tech because of the extra road movement, but also because of the pikemen. I'm going to need pikemen for an efficient counter to Brennus's elephants, because his elephants are, I think a bunch of them actually have 3 promotions. So spearmen are simply not going to cut it. So I'm deciding to go with a monastery here, and the reason for that is that in 9 turns I would get +2 hammers from the monastery. The forge would take roughly the same number of turns, but it would also only give me 2 hammers because of the way the multiplier works out. Well, I guess in hindsight it's more or less a break-even proposition, but anyway, that's what I went with. Okay, Joao is going to trade horses. So he has a spare horse resource to trade. Yeah, I'm just checking these trades with Joao each turn just to make sure he isn't researching Lib himself. Because if he is, then I need to pull the trigger on the best available trade. I'm just using this missionary to keep tabs on the AIs. Okay, get my great scientist. However, Joao adopts mercantilism. So these AIs are starting to go through their mercantilism phase, which is gonna put a crimp on my economy a bit. So get my academy. Now I need to put these guys back to work. I want to starve things down. So it's going to take me a while to get my great merchant, so looks like I'll just have to make do with one great merchant. And then switch over to wartime production civics. So, theocracy and slavery. Although I'm not sure about slavery. Because I'm just so food poor on this map. I'm not going to be able to whip much at all anyway. So I'm kind of tempted to make a trade at this point because of that cash. But guilds is not really what I want to go for. Okay, so I'm maxing out the return on the fur resources. So here I'm just trying to decide where to build roads in the north here. Trying to decide whether to build more roads or to have this guy start mining to the south of the capital. Yeah, 30 gold for the 3 fur resources. That's not bad at all. So just checking if the Gaul is researching either of these texts. Yeah, the Gaul's teching pretty well. He's already got Constitution. Yeah, I misjudged that situation. I thought Joao was gonna tech better than those other two guys. I got it backwards.
If music be the food of love,
Okay, music is in.
play on.
So now, the long trek to military tradition. So what am I doing here? Okay, right. Yeah, I'm checking the number of hammers it takes to build cuirassiers and knights, and there's only a 10 hammer difference. So if I were to get guilds and start building knights, then even one great merchant should be enough to do a mass upgrade. Yes, the other upside to getting guilds is that if I stay in caste system, then the guilds are going to provide some good production from workshops. That would also mean that I'm going to have to invest quite a few worker turns in order to build workshops. So I'm going to decide to drop the library out from the queue at Book Small entirely, just because library is going to be pretty much useless until after the war Brennus. Assuming I actually manage to win that war. I mean, it'll be useful to build libraries and universities and build Oxford during a consolidation phase, because even if I do take Brennus's major cities, I am going to need to build some necessary infrastructure in order to stay relevant in the tech trade scene, because the economic base I have right now is simply inadequate. So what I need to do is to run a quick war against Brennus and hopefully get him to capitulate, and then develop land that I capture from Brennus and build up a respectable economic base. And then from there it'll probably be an early modern war against Joao. Hopefully I can vassal him, and then if I can do that, I can go after de Gaulle and just wipe him out completely. But that's getting ahead of myself. Starting to go for some military builds. Gonna be necessary. Okay, I just saw Joao's main stack there, apparently. Okay, I can go found my horse city. Guess the one thing I have going for me is that I have a lot of forests I can chop into making an army quick. You know, there really isn't much food that'll allow me to whip much. I mean, I don't want to be whipping the capital, I guess I could whip Lakamha, but that's about it. Well, I guess Lakamha, Mayapon, maybe. Okay, Degal's got gunpowder. He's got, oh, yeah, Joao has engineering now, that's right. So, I could trade him for engineering. On the other hand, I could trade him for guilds. Not sure which is better at this point. I need to think about it some more. Probably engineering, because I'm going to need pikemen. And the road movement is nice. I don't have any workshops to speak of. And I guess the other thing is that I'm going to need to switch to slavery at some point in order to get something out of Brennus's cities. Well, there's Degal's great merchant. He's probably going to cash in at the Temple of Artemis in Celtia. So starting to build military stuff. Gonna get military tradition in 12 turns. Same time as I get the Great Merchant. Now, if I remember right, I can march the Great Merchant through Brennus's land, even though we don't have open borders. I hope I'm right. Because if I'm wrong, I could be... yeah, I could have a lot of problems there. Okay, so I found the horse city, Zupai. Yeah, it really sucks that the AI is going through the mercantilism phase. It's really put a damper on my economy. I mean, I don't have much commerce from the land, and so I'm pretty dependent on trade. So Degal got a bunch of gold for something. Just checking, making sure he's not researching Lib. I mean, I would be surprised if he were, but I don't want to be caught off guard here. I mean, I could try to beg him for a tech and see if he'll go for it. I mean, I guess it doesn't hurt to try that. You never know. I mean, sometimes you get lucky. Well, I guess the good news is that the Celts are not that overwhelmingly powerful, because just from a few forges, I've gotten up to 20% of his power, so it wouldn't take all that much to get strong enough to take him on. And Brennus has got the Buddhist shrine, so if I can take over that city, take over his Buddhist holy city, that would be fantastic. Oh, that's interesting. That's an interesting trade. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I want to pull the trigger on that just yet. Okay, there's the Gaul's main stack. It's comparable to Brennus's northern stack. Yeah, I think this is going to be a pretty crucial decision. I think I'm going to go Liberalism for engineering because of the pikemen and the increased road movement. But I don't feel that I'm necessarily under pressure at this point. I'm still looking for a little bit more gold from Joao for that trade. Okay, Joao went printing press. So that's something it's not going to be immediately useful for me. Start pumping out some units. Yeah, I'm going to get a couple of longbows to defend the hill cities, because they're cheaper than musketmen, and they're actually somewhat better than musketmen because of the first strike when defending in a hill city. Yeah, I'm hoping that Joao is going to have a little bit more gold to trade. It doesn't look like they're in any hurry to get Liv, so I'm not going to be in any hurry to trade it to them. Yeah, this is where I noticed that Brennus actually has military tradition. So that changes the calculus a bit, because if he can get horses, then he will have cuirassiers himself. Now the question is, does he have horses from anybody? Because he doesn't have his own. So de Gaulle, not trading him horses. However, Joao is giving him a sweetheart deal. Horses for marble. Yeah, completely lopsided trade. But typical of the AI. Yeah, I don't think there's any way I can get Joao to stop trading with de Gaulle or vice versa. So it looks like what's going to happen is that my cuirassiers are going to be running into his cuirassiers. Well, that's okay, I suppose. I mean, fighting at tech parity. I mean, the thing I'm really concerned with is to take Brennus down before he gets rifling. I mean, if he gets rifling, I mean, the jig is kind of up for me, because I'm not going to be able to tech well enough to conquer him in a rifle, in a war where he has rifles. I mean, even if I were to do that, it would be so draining on my resources that I would have ended up throwing the game anyway, even if I managed to beat him. So, yeah. Yeah, this game's going to be very, very challenging. So anyway, yeah, so I am closing in on military tradition and my first great merchant. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I'm gonna build up a stack of counter units to counter Brennus's northern stack, and I'm gonna build a stack of as many cuirassiers as I can. And then I will be going after Brennus. Yeah, see, Joao's not gonna trade embargo Brennus. Well, I mean, the good thing about the geography of this map, I mean, arguably the one good thing, is that Brennus's major cities, his capital and his holy city, are relatively close. And so, should be able to take them out in a lightning cuirassier campaign without too much trouble, I hope. But we'll see. We shall find out one way or the other. Okay, so this video ran rather long, and again, I apologize for the slow gameplay. I'm just taking things very carefully. So, yeah, thank you very much for watching, and as usual, if you have any feedback, positive, negative, yeah, please write a comment. Okay, thank you very much for watching. I will see you on the next video.